Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to this educational presentation of daily scanning for winning trade setups. Now, I know that everyone is looking for those high probability edges on a nightly basis. Many of you are not able to be in front of your computer 24/7, and so you like to come home at the end of the day, or perhaps just like to scan and see what the winning setups are. But how are you going to do that if you look through 500 stocks? Well, I'm going to show you a technique today that has high probability that you can find very easily on our platform. For example, let's look at this example here in Costco. This is going back to August, just a month or so ago, in mid-August. Now, looking back just with a couple of weeks of data we have here, it's hard to discern that there's any trend, that there's actually any edge here at all. But with the rules to this particular technique I'm going to share with you today, you would have been able to spot just off of these 4 bars, because it's a 4-bar pattern that I'll be teaching you today, that was a high probability setup to go long. And then after you saw that, well, you could have taken advantage of that by going long Costco and potentially capturing 22 points coming in to September, mid-September. And I'm going to show you how simple it is to scan and to identify these high probability setups using our new PTS Primo Charting platform. This is the educational portal that actually scans for winning trade setups. So you'll know exactly where these particular setups are as they're happening. So this promises to be a great presentation. Thanks for joining us again. My name is Steven Primo, President and Founder of Specialist Trading. And I've developed this new technique that we have on our platform with Pro Trader strategies. It's just about every month now, or every couple of months, we're coming up with brand new features to elevate your trading, because that's our goal, simply to teach you how to trade so that you can be in charge of your own trading decisions. It's our belief that the reason why most traders fail is because basically you're giving your power away. You're allowing someone or something else to make your trading decisions for you. And if you don't believe that, ask yourself right now, and ask yourself honestly, how do you make your trading decisions? Do you go to a chat room? Do you listen to some guy on TV? Do you wait for earnings? That's the way 99.9% of all traders trade, myself included when I first started some 41 years ago. And trust me, there's no sense of any type of consistency in that. If there were, then the majority of traders would be successful. But the statistics show us that it's actually the opposite. The majority of traders fail. Now, I've been trading for 41 years. I started my career on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I was on the floor 16 years. 9 of those years I was a specialist. That's where we get specialist trading from. A specialist is someone who made markets in about 50 or 60 stocks. I made markets in Waste Management, IBM, US Air, a number of other stocks. So if you wanted to buy or sell those particular stocks, you had to go up to the trader who specialized in that. That's where they get the name specialist. Now, I traded through the crash and the bull market that followed. I've traded straight down markets, straight up markets. I've traded sideways markets. Every single system or technique or trading method you can think of, I've traded it. So trust me, I'm here to shorten your learning curve. I know what works in terms of consistency, and I know what doesn't have any consistency at all, because I've tried them all. And I believe me, I'm here to shorten your learning curve so that you don't have to waste that much time, and most especially that much of your hard-earned money trying to find out what works. So what we want to do is educate you, steer you in the right direction, and then let you run. We're not here to say you have to, come every night to find out what to do, because you're like a leaf at the mercy of the wind, waiting to find out what the instructions are for the next day. That's the way most sites are. We don't believe in that. We want you to take charge. So the only way you can do that is through sound fundamental education, and this is our goal. This is what we provide at Specialist Trading and Pro Trader Strategies. Now, for example, I'm going to share some great education with you today and show you how we make it simple for you to learn this. But before we begin, we are required first by law to show you this, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results, a lot of different chart examples using this particular technique, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And also please remember that all these examples are strictly for educational purposes only. So as you're taking a look at our required disclaimer, once again, I'd like to invite each and every one of you to follow us on Twitter. Every day I post different information, anywhere from signals to announcements about the company or different things, features we have, to actual little bits of financial wisdom I've accumulated along the way. There's lots of great free information. Feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, once again, as I stated in the beginning statement of the presentation, we are an educational company. And people would say, well, why are you focusing so much on education? It's because if there's one thing I've learned, the reason why I failed when I first started trading on the floor was because I wasn't supplied with the proper education. I was taught just like everyone else. In other words, I was supposed to look at support and resistance. I was supposed to know all the earnings of all the stocks I was trading. I was supposed to know where the volume was, and I was supposed to know, where all the institutions were buying or selling. All these things we had talked about, that people still talk about to this day, they were talked about 40 years ago. And guess what? I couldn't make a dime with any of them. Fibonacci, Elliott wave, nothing worked. Even traditional candlestick. You've seen me giving presentations on all of these and disputed how, they've all been taught. So I was lucky enough to have some mentors who saw how much I was struggling on the floor because I didn't think I was going to be down there much longer. I was using all the things I had been taught and nothing was working. So I was lucky enough to have them teach me what had sustained them, and I really believe this is what has sustained me. So this is what I learned trading on the floor of the exchange. And please be aware that everything is rooted in simplicity. For some reason, traders think that the more complicated you make a trading plan or a trading system or a method, the more valid it will be. And trust me, I used to say the same thing. But what I've learned is that it's the exact opposite. Those are the things that usually blow up after a year and stop making money and have no consistency. It's the simple things that have stood the test of time. The things that you find so simple that could never work are actually the ones that actually are the most valid. If you look at traders who've been trading for a relatively short time, 5, 10 years, most of their trading plans are extremely complicated. All this convoluted logic, indicators you've never heard of, tons of rules. And sure, it might work in certain market conditions or for a certain while, but usually they blow up. For the most part, the traders who've been trading 20, 30, 40 years, most of their trading plans are extremely simple. Maybe 1, 2 indicators tops, maybe just a few rules, and that's about it. It's extremely simple, but that's the reason why they're still here, because their plans are simple. So simplicity equals consistency, and you're going to see how simple this technique is that I'm about to share with you today. All right, so here's what I learned trading on the floor of the exchange from my mentors when I was struggling some 41 years ago. This is Trading 101. You will increase your odds for success by trading in sync with the trend. Now, right now, I'm sure all of you are rolling your eyes saying, oh, wow, this is something new. I mean, I know this. Everyone knows this. You're right. Everyone does know this. It's Trading 101. But if everyone was so aware of this and everyone, made this an important piece of the puzzle that you're trading, then why is it estimated that upwards of 75, 80% of all traders fail? It's because everyone and their sister has a different idea of what the trend is and how to find the trend. Now, for example here, let's look at this example here, Nat. If you looked at this chart, you say, well, I wasn't sure about this, but now it looks like it's going up. We broke this little high here. We closed above it, and we're making higher highs and lower, or I should say higher lows. So, okay, I like this stock. I like the earnings, and I just realized from that report I read that all the institutions are buying it, so I'm going to buy it too. Okay, so you jump in and buy, and you're looking pretty good for a week or so. You think, hey, I made the right decision. This is probably going to have a big move, and then one day you turn your back, and look what happens. Okay. And so you hope and pray for it to come back so you can at least break even. Does that look familiar to anybody? Okay. Or how about this? Entirely different market, currency pairs. The Canadian dollar falls out of bed here. But look at this. It hits some major Fibonacci support. Maybe the banks are stepping in to buy. You have 3 closes that closed on the upward level. So now you're really positive. You think this is the beginning. The class you took says this is the beginning of an uptrend. So you want to buy here because this thing's going to take off, probably go all the way back up. So you buy the Canadian dollar and then this happens, okay? So now you figure out, wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to go with a trend. I thought all the information I was given was that was the bottom of the downtrend. We were starting an uptrend. So you've lost money. You say, I'm throwing in the towel. I'll take my loss. Maybe it'll even go short. And then this happens, okay? Lastly, let's go to one more market. Let's look at a range bar of the E-mini futures. Obviously, this is in a short-term uptrend, so you step in and buy. It kind of goes up a little bit, but sideways, but you're still feeling confident. After all, we closed towards the high of this bar. You're in it for a day trade. You feel really good about this. It's a high consolidation pivot or a flag. It's probably going to really take off. You're excited. You may even want to buy more of the E-mini, and then look what happens, okay? This is why most traders fail, because they say that they want to trade in sync with the trend, but what they've been taught by their educators, so-called educators or mentors, has been faulty. In other words, they're usually getting them in too late. You see, the beauty about trading with the trend is when you can get in early before everyone knows it's a trend. And that's why we need an early trend detector, okay? Everyone knows you should be trading with the trend, but by the time we find out that there is a trend in play, it's usually too late. So you need something that can tell you in advance. And you've heard me speak about this before. This was another tool I was introduced to on the floor by my mentors. This is the PTS, the early trend detector I'm talking about. Okay? It's a proprietary color bar algorithm. Okay? We've taken all the hard work out of it for you, because when I first was introduced to this some 41 years ago, I had to calculate this by hand. It's not difficult, it's just cumbersome, and there's no way to keep track of all the calculations you have to make. So what we did was take all the hard work out of it for you. We made a proprietary color bar algorithm so that when you see a series of green bars, you automatically know you're in an uptrend. There's nothing you have to figure out. Anywhere from 3 to 5 consecutive bars tells you you're in an uptrend. Conversely, if you see a series of red bars, 3 to 5 consecutive red bars, you should be in a short-term downtrend. That's it. Now, when someone would say, well, yeah, well, Steve, that's easy. I could tell that too, all right? 3 to 5 bars, that gives me plenty of time to figure out. Not necessarily. Let's look at those charts again. Remember, you most likely figured out to go long right here. Well, if we apply the PTS, we would have known well in advance after these 3 bars that we have an uptrend in play. And we would have known well in advance to get out before the bottom fell out. How about the Canadian dollar? Well, someone looking at this would say, well, Steve, sure, now I know that we're in a downtrend, but by this time, once we made this lower low, sure, I know I'm in a downtrend. All right, well, wouldn't you have liked to known up here? And wouldn't you have liked to known well in advance of this strong uptrend that you were going to go higher? So this is the way it works, and it can be applied even to intraday trading. Here's that one range bar, 1 point range bar of the E-mini, okay? This is where most traders would buy, thinking it's going to continue off that consolidation, and then it falls out of bed. You apply the PTS, and you would have known well down here in advance that you were in an uptrend, and well before the bottom fell out, you would have known that you were in a downtrend. So this is such a great tool. It's not designed to pick tops or bottoms. It doesn't do that. It's basically a translator. It translates on a tick-by-tick basis what the market wants to do. Because if you are in sync with the trend, then obviously your first rule is to listen to what the market wants to do. What is the direction it wants to go? And then you just simply have to be in sync with it. But most of us are in sync with it too late. So that's the beauty of the early trend detector. It simply translates what the market wants to do, and it does it earlier than anything I've ever seen in 4 decades. So as you can see, the beauty of the PTS is that it tells you which direction you should be trading. And it tells you better than anything I know of. Now, that is not its only function. In fact, there are dozens, literally dozens of functions that we've discovered over the years and ways in which you can apply it. It can also be applied to look for hidden high probability entry patterns, because it generates these patterns all the time. There are literally dozens of patterns that are being generated over and over again. I'm going to teach you one of these patterns today. This is PTS trading pattern technique number 4. Now you see here, I simply said trading pattern. I didn't say strategy number 4. It's a technique. And the reason why we call it a technique is because it's different from a full-fledged strategy. You see, a full-fledged strategy comes with complete rules. Entry, where you're supposed to enter, where you're supposed to exit, where you place your stop, where you have money management ideas, where you have different levels for tracking the trade. Those are all the pieces of the puzzle that are extremely important and that come with a strategy. And we have those in all of our strategy courses. The difference is the technique is just one piece of the puzzle. It's just basically shining a spotlight on a high probability entry point. How you decide to enter is up to you. How you decide to exit is up to you. How you decide to place your stop is up to you. That's why these are techniques. But what they do is they highlight these amazingly high probability entry points. And I'm going to share with you technique number 4 today. Okay, so let's look here at the requirements for this. There's only 2 things needed. Remember we talked about simplicity? Doesn't get any simpler than this. There's only 2 requirements. You have to apply the buy-sell line which is simply the 50-period moving average. We call it the buy-sell line because it tells you whether you should be buying or selling. And you have to apply, obviously, the PET-D. We need to apply the PET-D, and that's it. Now we're going to look for a specific pattern, okay? This is the setup. And don't worry about copying this down or you haven't heard it before. This is being recorded once again, as I stated. And once again, I forgot to mention at the beginning, if you do have any questions, please wait till the end to ask questions. I promise I'll get to each and every one of your questions at the end. But let me explain everything first. So here is the setup that you're looking for. What we want to do firstly is apply the 50-period moving average, and we want to see that price is above the 50-period moving average, okay? We want to see that we have a good amount of trades, most especially the most recent trades, bars, above the 50-period moving average. Now we want to apply the PET-D. Now we're looking for this 4-bar pattern. This is the technique. You want to see 3 consecutive red bars followed by 1 green bar. So 1 green bar should be the last bar. Another way to put it would be the last bar is a green bar and it was preceded by 3 red bars. I know it may seem a little complicated, but let me share with you how simple this process is. All right, let's look at XLNX. Someone looking at this would say, Steve, I can't make any idea what this is going to do. Firstly, the earnings don't come out for another couple of months, so I can't make a decision. Secondly, the institutions are shorting this stock. They don't like it. That's why it gapped down here, and all we're coming up to do is probably fill that gap on a retracement before we go lower. The volume is very weak, so this little run it's had for the last couple of days is not very strong. And the guy in the chat room I go to doesn't like it. In fact, he says it should be shorted around these levels pretty soon. So there's nothing really interesting here for me to do. Okay? Do you see how my decision process was made? Does it sound familiar to anybody? Is this the way you make your decisions? Either what some indicator is telling you, what some guy in a chat room is telling you, what some institutions are doing. These are all the ways we're taught to trade. And this is why 80% of traders fail, because there's no consistency in that. It didn't work for me 41 years ago, so it's not about to all of a sudden click on and the green light and it flashes and it works 40 years later. So the best thing is to listen to the market. Now, how do we do that? Well, firstly, our first rule was we want to apply the buy-sell line. That's the 50-period moving average right here. And we see that the majority of prices are above, so that's great. Requirement number 1 is met. The next thing we do is we apply the PET-D, and this is just so simple. Remember, we've taken the hard work out of it for you. When I was on the floor, I had to calculate each and every bar every minute, and it was just so cumbersome. Now all you have to do is, on our platform, click on the upper green strategy tab, PET-D Fast, which is a standard PET-D. We use it for just about the majority of everything. Click that on, and the bars will automatically change color. As you can see here, we had consistency here with green, then they changed to red, and then back to green again. Now we're looking for that pattern. Remember, the pattern was the last bar was green, and it was preceded by 3 red bars. Guess what? It's right here, okay? This was in the middle of August. 3 red bars and 1 green bar. The last bar is a green bar. Remember, we don't just need to have 3 red bars and that's all. We can start this countdown starting here, but remember, the next bar must be green. So if you have a series of red bars, wait for the first one to be green, but you must be above the 50-period moving average. And then, as you can see, stock rose 7 points in 2 weeks. Remember, we're not saying that you would have made 7 points. You could have made a quick point and gotten out. You could have made 5 points and gotten out. Or maybe you are still in the trade. We're not telling you where to place your stop. These are just high probability points that are putting a spotlight on so that you can think about getting in. Rather than listening to someone in a chat room or some crazy indicator, you can just follow this simple process. Remember we talked about Costco earlier, and someone looking at this would say there's no clear-cut direction. Well, yes, there is. The first thing you want to do is apply the 50-period moving average. And that's telling you the clear-cut direction was to the upside, because if price is above the 50, the direction is up. The market wants to go higher on the overall trend. All right? So then the next thing we want to do is find out what the short term, remember the early trend detector is doing. We apply the PET-D. You simply click on PET-D Fast, and the colors change. Now we look for that pattern. The last bar should be green, and it should be preceded by 3 red bars. And guess what? Right here. This was in the middle of August. Could have taken advantage of that. You could have decided when you wanted to enter. You could have entered on the close of that day if you're an aggressive trader. You could have placed a limit somewhere lower. You could have enter it on the opening of the next day. It's up to you. And we teach you different ways in our courses. But regardless, the market was telling you this is a very high probability sign that we're going to go much higher. And as you can see, it did go higher. It went 22 points higher in the next month. Now, there are literally dozens, just scores of these being generated on a nightly basis. And not just in stocks. We're going to focus on stocks today. But if this were an E-mini course, we would be showing you the same examples in the E-mini. If this was a forex course, we'd be showing you different examples in the Australian dollar or the British pound. It makes no difference what market this is. The PTD does not know if it's calculating for Bitcoin or if it's calculating for a 10-minute chart of Apple. It doesn't know. It's just calculating to tell you what the trend is. So don't worry if you're not a stock trader that looks at daily bars of charts. That's okay. But we're just going to focus mainly on stocks, but you can apply it to virtually any market. You can even work on commodities. So there are literally dozens of PTD technique setups being generated on a nightly basis. After a while, there's almost too many of them. How would you identify all of them? There's just too many. Are you going to go down the entire list of the S&P 500? Trust me, you don't want to do that because when I was trading 40 years ago, that's what I had to do on a nightly basis. It takes a good portion of your day after the market has closed looking for stocks while you're slowly looking for this pattern, okay? Is there a simpler way to identify them? Well, this is where we make things easy for you. This is where we educate you at ProTrader Strategies and at Specialist Trading. This is with our new PTS Primo Charting platform, the educational portal that scans for winning trade setups. Let me show you what I mean here. We developed the PTD Master Scanner. I'm really proud of this. I'm proud of all of our scans, but this is one of our best scans because what it does is it scans for all these different high probability patterns that are created all the time using the PTD. Remember, these are techniques. They're not systems. They're not strategies, but they're extremely high probability patterns that all you have to do is scan for them and they'll quickly and easily be identified. You don't have to look through the entire list of NASDAQ or S&P stocks or the entire E-mini futures or all the different time frames. It's all done for you in a matter of minutes. Let me show you how easy it is. The PTD Master Scanner identifies high probability setups that are based on PTD patterns in any market, in any direction, and in any time frame. So here's what you do with our platform. You simply click on the platform, go to the PTD Scanner icon, which is right here. Simply click that on, and you'll see the PTD Master Scanner title page right here. All you have to do is click on Load Symbols, and we provide you with a list of different symbols for stocks, futures, Bitcoin, currency pairs, and whatever one you want to pick. It can even be a basket of stock you're interested in. We show you how to make that. Whatever ones you pick, they'll automatically be generated and show you down here on this list, okay? Then you just choose which scan you're looking for. These are all the different scans of all the different PTD setups. We're choosing number 4. Click on Scan, and you'll see a series of either sells or buys. So you know automatically what to look for the next day. Now we're just focusing on the buys today. So let me share with you some recent scan examples because we have upwards of 10 separate scans now for different things and we're always coming up with more. Let me show you some recent scan examples for technique number 4, which is looking only for buy setups. Now we're looking at stocks once again, but it would not matter if we were looking at futures or currency pairs or commodities or Bitcoin. It makes no difference, okay? All right, so here's an example in UPS. This was in the middle of August. We're above the 50-period moving average. All right, we've applied the PTD. And what do we have here? We have that 4-bar pattern. We have our last bar is green and has been preceded by 3 red bars. So that's a high probability point of entry. I don't care if someone tells you that you should be shorting this. The odds are in your favor that this is going to go higher. Now, how you decide to trade it is up to you. But if you had done that, well, you would have made a quick 5 points going into that stock in the next couple of weeks, okay? Let's look at another example. Letter V. We're still above the 50. This was in the beginning of September. We have that 4-bar pattern there, 3 red bars followed by 1 green bar. Stock goes up 6 points coming into October, okay? It just, you see these over and over again. You could have taken a quick 2 points, a quick 5 points, or still been in the trade. Yelp, okay? Here's an example of where you get a numerous trade. Sometimes you want to take a quick 2 or 3 points maybe and get out. Other times you want to stay in longer. This first example here worked out a little okay, but then it kind of pulled back. You could have stayed in the trade or gotten out. But then once again, another setup was being generated. It met all the requirements, and this one took off for 8 points to the upside. How about letter I? Now, I want to share with you this because sometimes, sometimes you will have multiple setups, and sometimes some work and some don't. These are consistent setups. Consistency means that you will have losses from time to time. We're above the 50. We have 3 red bars followed by a green bar. High probability setup to go long, and what happens? It goes down. You would have lost a point roughly if you used our, in our courses, we teach you some of our most basic stop placement. So, okay, you lost a point. Let's say you lost 2 points, okay? It doesn't matter. Let's say you gave yourself more risk. You lost 2 points, double the amount of risk, okay? The point is, every technique, every method, every strategy we teach in our courses will take losses from time to time. That's okay. Don't let that, mess you up and think this doesn't work, because it's all about first learning the process, paper trading it so that you feel comfortable, and then devising what type of risk parameters you want. But the main thing is not to, take your ball and go home, which most traders do. They trade 1 or 2 trades, maybe have a loss, a break even, and say this doesn't work, because there are setups being generated all the time. If you had done that and taken your ball and left, you would have missed the next setup that was generated the next week, where it had the same pattern again after you stopped out. And now you could have made back everything you lost. Let's say you lost 2 points. Well, you would have made that back and had potentially had the capability to capture 7 more points. So do you see how this works? It's all about 2 steps forward, 1 step back, which we say all the time. That's what consistency means. Let's look at MANH, okay? Here's another example of looking at this and saying, well, Steve, not much clear idea here. We're kind of going down, up, down. But if we add the 50-period moving average, we see here that we are above. So the overall trend is up. We don't want to short anything. Then we simply apply the PET-D. And what do we have? We have 2 of these setups. We have one right here. There's a green bar followed by, or preceded by 3 red. And you could have made 3 to 5 points to the upside here. You could have stayed in the trade or exited, whatever you wanted. But be that as it may, there was still another setup here at the beginning of August. 3 red bars, 1 green. And this time it took off 10 points to the upside. If we look at HIS, the same thing applied here in August coming into September. The first setup generated a nice small rally. You could have stayed in or taken a few 2 or 3 points profit. And another one was set up right here. If you stayed in, you could have added to your position and generated 11 points now to the upside. This was coming in just a couple of weeks ago. Now, lastly, if you like to trade options, well, I can't think of a better stock to trade options on than Amazon, because it's so expensive, and also there's a lot of volatility, momentum. This is a great way if you're an option trader. We have many students who like to trade these techniques and trade options with them. And when they'll see a pattern like this, we're above the 50, 3 red bars followed by a green bar. That's a high probability setup to buy a call or some type of spread. And all you have to do is know that you have the odds in your favor. Had you purchased this at the beginning of August, well, that's 210 points in 1 month that you could have potentially captured. Not saying that you did, not saying that everyone would have. Maybe you would have taken 20 points and said, boy, thank you, I'll take a quick 20 and I'll get out. Maybe you would have taken 50. But you potentially could have captured a total of 210 points coming into the beginning of September, just about a month ago. Now, we can also apply this with news. Many times people are afraid to trade certain techniques or requirements because they think, well, Steve, if news events come out, that's really going to kill me. I'm always on the wrong side of news. Well, there's no way to ever guarantee if you're going to be on the right side of news. We've just found over the years that many times the market tells you in advance what it wants to do prior to a news event, prior to some announcement. And that can be seen many times on these PET-D technique requirements. So let me show you what I mean here. It was announced on August 2nd, a couple of months ago, that Apple became the world's first trillion-dollar company, okay? This is amazing, the first trillion-dollar company, because it was amazing because a year earlier, it had become the first $900 billion company. But now it even broke that record and was now announced on August 2nd. It was a trillion-dollar company, okay? So if we look at the chart in Apple, here's where the announcement came out here on the 2nd, and obviously the stock took off. but it just didn't make a high there and then fall out of bed. It continued to go up even higher. So how could this have PET-D technique number 4 helped us? Possibly in advance of that news. Well, the first thing we want to do is apply the 50-period moving average. And we see that we've been above the 50 the entire time. So even if we weren't using the PET-D, the buy-sell line is telling us that Apple has been wanting to go up or has been in an overall uptrend for a long time prior to that announcement. So we already had that in our favor. Secondly, we apply the PET-D, and what do we have? 3 red bars followed by a green bar. That's the pattern we've been telling you. Had you simply taken that setup the day before the announcement, well, that would have been potentially 27 points you could have captured in the next month coming into mid-September, okay? So the market told us prior to that announcement that this was meeting the requirements of this technique. So you can use it with confidence, knowing that, not guaranteed, but knowing that many times you'll be on the right side. A lot of times, a lot of our students like to use this as a trend detector or as some type of market identifier to tell them what's going to be happening in the market, because they'll apply it with a ETF. As we look here at the diamonds, that's the ETF for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We can still apply this technique, and even though we don't want to buy this stock, it will give us an idea of what the market's doing. And isn't that a great edge in and of itself to have an idea of what the market's doing? Because after all, if a high probability buy setup is occurring in an ETF, don't you think that the market's going to follow suit? Well, as we see here, we are above the 50 in the diamonds in mid-August. We apply the PET-D, and what do we have here? A series of red bars followed by 1 green. And all we need are 3 red bars followed by a green, so that's a high probability entry. Now this looks similar to the Apple, but remember, Apple was announced on August 2nd. This is already August 16th. This is already a full 2 weeks later, and you get that same pattern. 3 red bars followed by 1 green bar. That's the setup to enter, and 12 points coming into the middle of September, roughly in about a month. But that transferred over to 1,200 Dow points. What if someone would have told you on August 15th or 16th, hey, guess what? There's going to be a nice rally in the market, potentially worth 1,200 points in the Dow. Wouldn't you have loved to know that information? Well, even though we can't guarantee it, this is what came out of that setup. And should say technique number 4 setup. Let's recap. What did we share with you today? A simple trading technique using the PET-D that pinpoints quick momentum moves in any direction and any time frame. Now, we just focused on the upwards direction because we know that most people like to go long. I want you to ask yourself before we go into question and answer portion, what do you think of the results of this? Do you think that this edge could have helped your trading this past year? I mean, after all, we've only got really 2-3 months left in the year. Do you think this could have helped you? Wouldn't you have liked to know on a nightly basis where these setups were? Just every night going and see a setup, then you look through maybe the dozens that are generated and you can choose for yourself what you're interested in purchasing or selling if you wanted to see some sell examples. Well, here's a great offer we have for you today and a great discount. We're actually going to give you 2 offers. Here's the first one. We're going to offer you our scanner, obviously. This is the PET-D Master Scanner, which I developed with Proprietary Strategies. We feel it's the next level of PET-D trading. Why? Because it unlocks hidden PET-D patterns. We have 10 new proprietary master scans. Now, we're always coming up with more. The last time I gave this presentation, which was a couple of months ago, we only had 8. Now we have 10, and we have a couple more in the works. So we have lots of ideas. Students are reporting back to us, plus we're experimenting with what we've seen ourselves for high probability scans. Now, this works on all markets and time frames. Even though we focused on stocks today, I don't want you to think that it won't work on ETFs, commodities, futures, forex. It works on everything. Wherever there is a trend, the PET-D can be applied, and you'll see this pattern. All right. Even if you're trading a 10-minute chart of IBM, you'll still be able to see this. All right. A lot of our traders like to use this to add to core positions. Maybe they're already in a long-term position. They see this pattern. They go, oh, wow, this is a high probability. I'm going to buy some more to add on to my position. So this is a great way to add on if you're thinking about increasing your portfolio. It's simple and fast. It literally takes minutes to use on a nightly basis. I showed you how simple it was when I showed you that process. It takes just about that long to get a scan of what you're looking for. And lastly, what's included with this is mentoring correspondence. You can always email me, contact me whenever you like, even during the weekends. It makes no difference. I answer many emails during the weekends by people using the scanner and have questions about how to use it or what is the what I think is the best choice for a setup, okay? Now, remember, the beauty of this is that you're getting tomorrow's setups today. You're seeing these patterns that you can't find anywhere else. No one else uses the PET-D. This is our proprietary tool. No one else knows about these patterns except us. So that's the beauty of it. And you don't have to look through 500 stocks the way I did when I first started learning. You can literally look through the entire S&P 500. Maybe it'll take you 10, 15 minutes tops to look through all the setups. For example, if you had had our scanner, let's say I gave this presentation a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and you purchased our scanner, you possibly could have seen this. Here was Apple. Now, we showed you that older chart of Apple where it was in August, they had the announcement, but this happened just a couple of weeks ago. This is Apple, and as you can see, it looks like it's coming sideways to lower. Once again, if you're trading the way most traders trade, you'd say, well, Steve, there's nothing really good here. It looks like we're making lower lows. I don't want to step into this. It had that big run up after the news announcement, and now it looks like it's running out of gas, okay? Once again, I don't know what these decisions are based off of, but they're not based off of what the market is telling you. The first thing you want to discover is, what is the market telling you? What's the overall trend? And the way you find that out is you apply the 50-period moving average. If price is above the 50, the overall trend is up. We're not telling you that. That's not something we came up with. That's the market telling you. The market's telling you that the overall trend is up. Remember, we just want to listen to the market and jump on board. Okay, so now let's go down to a shorter time frame. Let's see what the PET-D is telling us. That's the short-term early trend detector. We apply that, and we see, well, we had a couple of green here, and yeah, it is. We have consecutive red bars, so I guess we are on a short-term downtrend, but we have 3 consecutive red bars followed by a green bar. This is the pattern we talked about, okay? We're above the 50. So what the PET-D is telling us is that this is an early trend warning telling us that the trend may resume to the upside. Now, this was on September 24th, just a week or so ago, and the stocks come up 13 points just in the next week. Now, as you can see, this is coming into today. I took this snapshot this morning. So you could have taken advantage of this. You could have either purchased calls, you could have maybe bought the stock, added your position, but these are things that are happening. You know, we're not just cherry picking examples and saying, well, this one worked, let me show you this one that happened 2 years ago, the way some other presenters do. We don't believe in that. We always try to show you things that have recently occurred to see how this works. And this just happened, like I said, on the 24th, coming into today. This chart was current coming into this morning. So had I given this presentation a week or two ago and you purchased the scanner, you could have potentially taken advantage of this, all right? But just imagine, let's say you decide to become a member of the scanner course today. Look at all the future high probability setups that you can take advantage of. So if you're interested in our first offer, which is the PET-D Master Scanner, here's what we're going to offer you for you today. The regular price is usually close to $1,500, okay, because it's worth that. You're getting all the scans on a nightly basis, our scanner and our platform. We're going to cut the price of that. We're not going to charge you $1,500. We're going to chop off $200, and it's only for 1 day only, though. We're dropping the price to $1,295. If you're having trouble even with that amount, don't worry. We have payment plans, but it has to be done today. So the best thing to do is to contact ProTrader Strategies. I developed the scanner and the platform with them, and they can put together something for you. Now, we know a lot of you already have the PET-D, so you just want the scanner. But there are still some of you that say, well, Steve, if I have the scanner, do I automatically get the PET-D? No, the PET-D is a tremendous, tremendous tool in and of itself. So we have another offer for you, okay? This one's going to be an even better offer, a little bit more expensive, but trust me, compared to what you'll see in other courses and other presentations, it doesn't even meet the needs of many of the expensive classes. We're going to offer you our second offer of the PET-D Early Trend Detector. So you'll be able to see that. That comes with the course of all the different patterns. We share with you everything along with the scanner. So you'll be able to get both. You'll know all the different techniques and all the different ways in which to use the PET-D along with the scanner. Now, this would usually run close to, I would say, $4,500. We're going to drop that down to $39.95, a $500 discount. And once again, contact ProTrader Strategies. If you're having difficulty meeting that one payment, we can construct a payment plan so that for a small deposit, you can still be a part of either one of these promotions, and you don't have to come up with a full round number. So here's how to take advantage of this great offer I have to you today. Remember, we just shared with you a ton of examples just in stocks. It can also work to the downside. It can also work on commodities, futures, currency pairs. So the best way is to contact ProTrader Strategies. I personally, even though you have the email address there, I would suggest calling them directly at 310-598-6677 and trying to structure some type of payment plan, because I know that those prices may be high for some of you. We have many customers that just say, I want it, just give me that discount, I'll take it right now. But we know others still have trouble meeting that price. Don't worry, you can construct a payment plan so that with a small deposit, you can still be up and running. And the way to find out what that payment plan could be is to call ProTrader Strategies at 310-598-6677. There's absolutely no obligation. They're willing to work with you. They can give you more information, and they'd be willing to answer any question that you may have concerning pricing and discounts and payment plans. Now, if you want more information, see the link at the very bottom. That's the link that takes you to the sign-up page. Just copy that link. You can copy and paste it on your browser, or if you go to the chat box, they've posted a live link in the chat box. You can click that on. It will automatically take you there. All right, we're just about up to the last 15 minutes. I'm going to open this up and take any questions you may have. Nelson asks, is this scanner only for daily? No, Nelson, it can be worked in any time frame, applied, I should say, in any time frame and in any direction. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, can I see examples in other markets? Unfortunately, this is not a dynamic presentation. I have a PowerPoint presentation here. It's already formatted here on the screen so that I can't move over and start using live charts. But it does work on the forex. It does work on the E-mini. I use it on the E-mini. It does work on the currency pairs, as well as Bitcoin, as well as commodities, as well as ETF. So there's lots of great ways to apply it. Next question, people are asking, does it work with Metastock and NinjaTrader? Now you can apply PET-D, that's the actual changing of the bars. You can use that on Metastock, NinjaTrader, TradeStation, Sierra Charts. You can also use it on, Metastock, MT4. There's lots of different ways to use it. Even have a way to do it for customers that use Thinkorswim. But remember, that's just the PET-D tool, which automatically colors. You can't get the scanner. The scanner is only available on our platform. So we feel the best way to do this is to simply, get the actual platform included with it. And I think that there probably is some discount or some type of way to get the platform or some type of trial where it won't cost a lot, or maybe they may even throw it in free. I don't know. You'd have to contact ProTrader Strategies because, as I said earlier, they have all the pricing and discounts. So that's why I would say contact them in terms of wondering, a payment plan, wondering which platforms you can apply it to. In my opinion, the best way is to apply it with the PTS Primo Charting platform because it's all one click away. We've had other students say, well, Steve, I use some of your courses and techniques and methods on MT4 or on Metastock, but it's a little bit cumbersome. I mean, I have to go open up a window, then I have to go down a list, then I have to find where yours is, then it takes me a while to enter. As you saw right here, everything is one click away. It's so simple and so easy. We designed it that way. So we take, we want you to be focusing on trading and learning. We don't want you to be focusing on the first half hour figuring out how to use a scanner, which is something I've gone through, which really drives me crazy. So it's so easy. It's all one click away, okay? These are great questions. And remember, there is absolutely no obligation at all to call and contact ProTrader Strategies. They have trading consultants manning the phones right now. They would be more than happy to answer any question and also to give you some type of an idea on a payment plan to structure it for you to see if you could be up and running without any obligation. So just give them a call and find out. You have all the information up here. One of the main things, the next question is people saying, when you give us mentoring, mentoring advice, does that come on a presentation? No, that comes through email. All you have to do, you'll get my private email address, and all you have to do is send me an email whenever you like. So I've been trading this for 40 years. So if there's a question, trust me, I know how to answer it. So there's nothing that you're going to be left in the dark and wondering what to do. So if you ever see a pattern, or if you're not sure you understand the pattern, all you have to do is contact me and I'll answer you as quickly as possible. So that comes included. Someone who's been trading these techniques for 41 plus years. So this is all included. Great way to learn by someone who's been using it that long, okay? As we conclude here, I just want to say I hope you learned something about this. I hope you saw how simple and easy trading can actually be when you uncomplicate it. When traders overcomplicate your trading, it's almost a recipe for disaster. But when you start to simplify it by looking at just a simple 4-bar pattern the way we share with you, that's when you start to become consistent. So remember, contact Pro Trader Strategies with any questions, pricing or what platforms it works on. It does work on Metastock and NinjaTrader. It does work on also on TradeStation, Sierra Charts, MT4. But contact them with any questions concerning pricing or discount, and then you'll have full access to asking me any question you like once you become a student of mine, okay? As we close, I hope you got something out of this. I hope you got a little education. And in closing, I want to say I wish you the best of luck in trading, and I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine, but most especially members of the PET-D and the PET-D Master Scanner course. Thank you so much for attending today. I shall see you next time. Bye-bye.